chapter 72, texts 28 through 30. So we can begin with our invocation mantras. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You do the next two together. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devam saraswatam vyasam tato jayamudire. Nasta praya subhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate utamashloke bhakti bhagavati naishtiki. For reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer the respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayana Rishi, the supreme most human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of women, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. By regular attendance on classes on the Srimad Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart almost becomes completely destroyed. And thus, transcendental loving service to the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. All right, Jai. So we will go through texts 28 and 30, and then we will choose one to read the Sanskrit for, and we'll go from there. Canto 10, chapter 72, text 28 onwards. Translation. The Supreme Lord said, O exalted King, give us battle in the form of a duel, if you think it fitting. We are princes and have come to beg a fight. We have no other request to make to you. Text 29. Translation. Over there is Bhima, son of Pritha, and this is his brother Arjuna. Know me to be his maternal cousin, Krishna, your enemy. So nice. So cinematic. Text 30. Translation. Shukadev Goswami continued. Thus challenged Magadha Raj, laughed out loud and contemptuously said, all right, you fools, I'll give you a fight. This is such a perfect, cinema, such an epic moment. The reveal, and then it's the introduction of the characters, and then the bad guy's like, no problem, like, let's fight. Hear the laugh? The laugh? Yeah, something like that. Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti comments that Jarasandha felt inner satisfaction because he thought that his enemies had been humiliated by having to dress like brahmanas to approach him. Thus the Acharya understands Jarasandha's mind as follows. Oh, weak ones, forget the botheration of fighting. Why not just accept my head? By dressing yourselves as brahmanas, begging charity, you have made your heroism set like the sun. But if somehow you have not lost your courage, I will give you battle. The Acharya finally points out that the goddess of learning intends the phrase Amarsito Manda to read Amarsito Manda. In other words, Lord Krishna and the Pandavas are Amanda, never foolish. And that is why they chose the best tactic for doing away once and for all with the cruel Jarasandha. So we'll read the Sanskrit for this one, and we will add our maniacal laugh to the translation. Eva avetito raja jaha sochen smad magda ahachamosito manda yudham tahi dadamiva. Translation. Shukadeva Goswami continued. Thus challenged, Magadharaj laughed out loud. Ha 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 ha! Contemptuously said, all right, you fools, I'll give you a fight. All right, we'll do our invocation prayers. Om Jnanatirmirandasya Jnanjana Shavakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right. So, where are we in the Srimad Bhagavatam? Krishna, well, in Dwarka, in his assembly of associates, actually, before I begin to speak, I'd like to ask all the blessings of the assembled devotees. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity, and I pray that I can speak something that is pleasing and in line with Guru Parampara and Shastra. Hare Krishna. So, Krishna, when he was in Dwarka with his associates, there came a message that King Yudhishthira wants to perform the Rajasuya sacrifice. But there was also a message that there were many kings who had been taken prisoner. And those kings are now praying to Krishna for release. As a result, Krishna and his associates come up with a plan to infiltrate Jarasanda's capital and challenge him to a fight by dressing as brahmanas. And now here in this verse today, we see Krishna himself requesting this boon, so to say. These brahmanas, in that time, they would approach the king and ask for some charity. And so Jarasandha, following this Vedic ruling, he would vow to give charity to the brahmanas. And thus, Krishna and his associates, dressed as brahmanas, begged a fight from Jarasandha. And thus we have our verses today. Now, we can find it very interesting. I'm going to ask us a question here. We have Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Arjuna, one of the greatest warriors of all time. And we have Bhimasena, who is said to be stronger than 10,000 enraged elephants. Basically unable to be calculated, this strength. These three characters walk up and are challenging Jarasandha to a battle. Now, any rational-minded person would be a little bit worried about their ability to win such an ordeal, such a fight. But here, Jarasandha, having been challenged by these three infallible personalities, instead of feeling fear, he laughs out and contemptuously speaks, deriding them and saying, "Of course I'll give you a fight," with all confidence in his own ability. So the question I'd like to open up our class is, what's the problem here? What's the problem here? Yeah, with this scenario, God himself and his associates walk up, and here we have Jarasandha, who's not even a little bit afraid, it seems. What's the problem here? Yes, Jamuna Jaya.
Well, it's sort of the classic problem that the jiva, that we think we're God, we think we're in control, we think we're greater than God, and it's arrogance and what's the word, avarice, straight up embodied by Jarasandha here.
You got it, Jamuna Jaya. Jamuna Jaya ki Jaya. Yes. So the principle for this class is that false ego bewilders. Jarasandha is a fallible soul. He is not God. He is even defeated simply by Krishna in his time factor as Kala. He was born and thereby death is assured, just as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, for one who has taken birth, death is guaranteed. And so, although Jarasandha is a fallible living entity, he has such false estimation of his own abilities. So much so that the infallible Supreme Personality, source of all ability, he is literally the strength of the strong. He gives all sanction. This unlimitedly powerful personality walks into his assembly asking for a fight. And because of the power of the Ahankar, Jarasandha thinks, no problem. I can win. I can defeat this person. This is insanity. This is insanity. This is like believing that we can cross the Atlantic Ocean by holding on to the tail of a dog. It's just delusional, actually. It's full-on delusional. So the problem here that we see is that the fallible living entity, Jarasandha, believes that he can overcome the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his associates. So now, what is the reason for this? You know, and this we can kind of break this down and see in our own lives, if we like, how the ego can bewilder us to kind of perhaps overestimate our abilities. But what is the reason for this phenomenon of the false ego? The problem is that we're fallible, and the reason for us being covered over is the material forces. The soul is actually infallible. The soul is eternal. But when the soul comes into this material world, it takes on a fallible form. It takes on a body composed of material elements, which can be slain. That this body has boyhood to youth to old age, and it will similarly leave that body and enter into a new body. Thus, that material body is fallible. But due to the forces of the material nature and composed of earth,
Krishna,
water,
continue to bless you with pure devotion.
fire, thank you, Krishna. Fire, wind, ether, and more subtly, mind, intelligence, and most powerfully, false ego. Because of the power of that energy, the living entity becomes bewildered. Krishna says in the 7th chapter, I believe 14th verse of the Bhagavad Gita, that this external material energy is actually one of Krishna's divine potencies, and it is impossible to traverse. It is impossible to defeat. So Jarasandha is already lost. He's already lost because he cannot control his senses. He cannot defeat the material energy. But Krishna says, for one who has taken shelter in me, they, and only they, can easily traverse this material external energy. And so we can find it very interesting that Krishna allows a lot of things, but he allows us to kind of believe what we are desiring to believe. It's said in the Bhagavad Gita that when one wants to worship a particular demigod, he makes his faith steady in that particular worship. In this case, Jarasandha is worshiping himself as the demigod. He believes so much in his ability, in his power, in his prowess. And thus, his estimation of himself is unlimited. Now, while Krishna in the heart, Sarvashachaham Hridisani Visto, Krishna in the heart is allowing for this remembrance, this forgetfulness, and this knowledge. Krishna always desires the best for every living entity, because that entity is originally constituted in the spiritual world, engaged in loving devotional service, the eternal occupation of the soul. It's only when that soul comes to the material world, it becomes bewildered by the external energy, that this enmity arises. But Krishna, being the supreme pure and the supreme friend, Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, he's always the friend. Bhoktaram yagatapasa sarvaloka maheshwaram suridam sarvalokanam gatvam manchantirichati. He's the supreme controller, proprietor, but he is also the well-wisher of every living entity. In being the well-wisher, he arranges things in certain ways for the betterment of that soul. And now, this is the solution. If our problem is that we are fallible souls and we're covered over by material forces, the solution is to receive the mercy of Krishna, to take shelter, to confide in Krishna. Once we do that, we traverse all the material miseries. We become situated in loving devotional service. And thus we are able to, at the end of life, Antakalachmameva, go to him. We're able to realize the fallible nature of this material world, how it cannot bring us lasting pleasure. And by doing so, Abrahma Bhuvanaloka, Puna Abadonojana, Mamupetya Tukundeya, Puna Janmana Vidite. By taking shelter of Krishna, Mamupetya, then we no longer have to go through this cycle of birth and death and birth and death and birth and death. And so that mercy can come in an easy way, or it can come in a hard way. Now, Jarasandha, being very inimical to the plan of the Supreme Lord, is choosing a bit of a harder mercy to receive. We'll see later just what form his mercy manifests as. Another example of receiving this mercy in a difficult way would be Hiranyakashipu, who was also similarly liberated by the arrangement of the Lord in his form of Narasimhadev, but in a very hard way, very hard and painful way. Another example. What was the example? Indra. Indra, although a devotee of the Lord, he became infatuated by the material forces, ahankar, making himself to be the ruler. He attacked Vrindavan Dham and wanted to inundate and destroy everything. This is how potent the material energy is. Even one who is striving to serve Krishna, even one who is, in the Bhagavad Gita says, even one who is striving to control his senses, one of the wandering senses can completely overwhelm the conditioned soul. And so Indra, being bewildered, attacked Vrindavan, attacked Krishna, and attacked the Vrajvasis. And Krishna, being very kind, crushed Indra's ego by holding Govardhan Hill for 7 days. And in front of everyone, in front of all the heavenly residents, he was shown to be unable to conquer Krishna. And that was really hard on his ego. And so later on, we see him and how he has to humble himself, take shelter of the Surabi cow, and beg forgiveness from Krishna. So these are hard forms of mercy. There are also easy forms of mercy. Krishna, a loving parent doesn't want to have to punish their child. This is where Krishna says that he is equal, that he is not easier on one person and harder on another. The example is given that a father may have two children. One child behaves very nicely and listens to the father's instructions and executes things properly. And the other child rebels, goes against the wishes or instruction and direction of the father. Now, the father may seem to be rewarding one and praising one and correcting the other. And now from an external view, it's saying, why do you appreciate one of your children, but not so much the other? But that's actually not the proper vision. You have to see from the father's perspective that affection is coming equally, but it's manifesting uniquely for what the child needs to grow. So the child who is behaving properly is being rewarded, to be encouraged to continue in this way for his benefit. And for the child that is behaving improperly, he is getting the punishment that he requires in order to rectify and then also attain to that higher way of life. So some examples of the easy mercy. One can say Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur, from the beginning of life, took shelter in Harinam, in the form of the Lord, through his name, and by associating with devotees like Sri Advaita. And thus, being under full shelter, Daivi Shagunamayi, being full shelter of the Supreme Lord, none of the material effects could disturb him. He was fully immersed in the ocean of Harinam, fully protected by the love of the Lord. And this happened in pastime after pastime after pastime. I get really excited about Haridas Thakur, so I'll try not to spend too much time with him. But when he was, I believe it was in Shantipur. Actually, I've heard different locations for this. But the pastime where the prostitute was sent to go and disturb his sadhana, he was so much fixed in his sadhana that the material energy did not distract him for a second. In fact, he actually only stayed for the benefit of the prostitute, who became a famous sadhu, because she, by association with Haridas Thakur, became purified and thus also took the chanting of Harinam. And thus her holy name was glorified through her becoming a disciple of Haridas Thakur. Another example, I mean, if we're talking about the material energy, which is infallible, and it's just directly empowered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself, she came personally to try to test Haridas Thakur. But Haridas Thakur was so deeply immersed in his sadhana, so deeply under the shelter and protection of Krishna, that even Maya Devi, trying all of her potencies to dissuade Haridas Thakur from his sadhana, was unable to defeat him. And as a result, she surrendered to the lotus feet of Haridas Thakur and said, please initiate me in this chanting of Harinam. What potency is that? What potency of sadhana that even Maya herself takes shelter of Haridas Thakur. One more example of Haridas Thakur. This will parallel into the second example. When Haridas Thakur was engaged in his chanting, there was a ruler who became envious. In being envious of Haridas Thakur's chanting of the holy names, he this is separate pastime. The rulers brought in they arrested Haridas Thakur. And they told him, either you stop this chanting of Harinam, or we will kill you. This is the nature of these pure devotees. They are Abhay Charanara. They are fearless, having taken shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord. In this fearless state, Haridas Thakur said, you may kill me. You may take my life. You may destroy this body. But the last breath from my mouth will be Harinam. Hare. And in this bold mood, Haridas Thakur refuted the idea of giving up this chanting of Hare Krishna. And as a result, the officials said, okay, we hear our mercenaries, they will drag you into the marketplace and they will beat you. They will beat you in 23 marketplaces. I mean, even being subtly attacked on Instagram can be so affecting to our ego. What to speak of being physically dragged in a public arena with people who know you. Haridas is known at this point, so it's a public defamation, and being physically abused. Haridas Thakur was not shaken for a minute. He was constantly glorifying Krishna with Harinam. He was actually praying, my dear Lord Krishna. I'm thinking in my case, it's if I'm even able to pray, maybe I'll pray for, please save me, please protect me. These are nice prayers. Bhagavad Gita says those who take shelter in Krishna in some sense of distress, they are seen as righteous. But even above that, Haridas Thakur's mentality is so pure that he's not even praying for himself. He's saying, my dear Lord, these mercenaries, the karma that they are accruing for their actions will result in them having to suffer greatly. And their suffering is what brings me pain. Not that I'm being publicly defamed, not that I'm being beaten, not that I'm taking shelter of Krishna and still somehow this is happening. None of these thoughts are crossing his mind. He says, my Lord, my only pain is that they will suffer as a result of their activities. Please, my Lord, forgive them. Forgive them. This is Chanadati Sunichina, Doroti Sunishna, Amani Namani, Kirtani Saha, Hari. Humble like a blade of grass. Tolerant and forgiving and compassionate like a tree. Offering all respect to others without expecting any respect for oneself. This is why he's able to Kirtaniya Sada Hari. This is why he's able to always chant the holy name. This is Haridas Thakur. And because of this shelter, even though being beat in all of these marketplaces, he felt no pain. Extreme example. There was no bruises, no markings on his body. In fact, it's later revealed in the Mahaprakash Leela that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came himself to protect Haridas Thakur from the beatings. This is the love that conquers Krishna. And it is very rarely achieved because it conquers Krishna. This is what we're striving for. This is Bhakti Yoga. So I am over time, so I will just give a very brief second example. Similarly to Haridas Thakur is Sri Prahlad Maharaj, who, being in full immersion in remembrance of Sri Krishna, full smaranam, even though he was thrown under mountains, thrown in boiling oil, thrown in a pit of venomous snakes, attacked with deadly weapons, all kinds of things. He felt no pain. His body took no damage. because of his full remembrance and his unflinching, unwavering shelter in the Supreme Lord. So this is ways of easy mercy. And so what that looks like in our life is taking shelter. How can I take shelter today? And beyond just a ritual, beyond just a shloka, beyond yes, that word, but what does that mean? Let's go deeper. Let's peel back the layers. Let's drink the essence of that. What does it mean to surrender? What does it mean to take shelter? It is confiding with our heart, our very self, a full sincerity. Here I am. Here is where I am. Let us see Radha Murida and say, this is where I am. Whatever level I'm at, how, Lord, can I confide in you more? Maybe I don't have a lot of faith. Maybe I don't have the faith of Haridas Thakur, of Prahlad Maharaj. But asking wherever we are with sincerity, even if it's just a practice, even if it's, and that's sadhana, and go to the Lord and saying, I maybe don't have a lot of faith in you. Whatever that truth is, sincerely offering that to Krishna. Maybe I don't have a lot of faith in you. But if you're there, please help me. Please help me to have more faith. Or if we do have some faith, my Lord, please help me remember you through the day. Please help me realize or experience or engage more deeply with the reality that we have an eternal relationship, that you are the well-wisher. How can I see you? Please help me see you. So what ways can we confide in him? He is more close to us than our breath. He's the closest relationship in this world. And our not being aware of that, we can take that as an opportunity, as a beautiful opportunity to become aware of that. That you are here in my heart. That these aren't theoretical verses that you're speaking in the Bhagavad Gita, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the CC. It's a reality. And if I can develop that desire, then by your mercy, you will reveal yourself to me. That is your grace. So we can get that in association with his devotees. We can get that through chanting his name. We can get that by seeing his deity form. We can get that by reading and hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam. And we can get that by living in sacred places like Mathura, Vrindavan, Dwarka, Mayapur, Jagannath Puri, the temple, or even our very home, which we make into the temple by inviting the presence of the Lord. So I'll end here. This is a summary. The problem that we all face is that we are in this world fallible. The false ego bewilders us to believe that we are right, even when we are wrong. This is as a result of the material forces. And we can transcend those forces by receiving the mercy of the Lord. And we can receive that in an easy way, which may be more palatable than the difficult ways to receive it. So I'll stop there. Thank you for allowing me to speak on this topic. Please forgive me if I spoke anything incorrect or out of line with our Guru Parampara as you aspiring servants. Please forgive me. But now I'd like to open the floor for any questions or comments or reviews. Adi Pushpa, maybe you can share a few words with us.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me okay? Nanda Vihari, you can hear?
Yeah, Mike is saying, yeah.
Yeah?
We can hear you, Adi.
Okay, wonderful class, wonderful, amazing subject. We've been dancing around the idea of correction by Krishna here. Krishna's correcting this evil king. And the misperception that correction is somehow or other partiality by the Lord. And then there was something that happened here in the temple a little while ago. There was a devotee named Krishna Keshava. And he told us that when he was growing up in India, he and his schoolmates were engaging in some kind of mischievous activity in school, and the teacher was correcting them. And he said they didn't the desire to keep doing that didn't go away, even with the threat of punishment, even by the rod of chastisement. Their new idea was, well, let's keep doing it, but not get caught. It became more fun to do it because there was a, challenge there, and the desire to do the mischievous activity didn't go away. He said, and then the teacher said, all right, I'm going to tell your parents. I'm going to raise the bar of your chastisement. I'm going to tell your parents. So the teacher told the mother, and his father was away. And his mother said, when your father comes back, I'm going to tell him what you've been doing. And so his father came home, and the mother said, he is doing like this. He said his father walked right over to him and slapped him on the face. And he'd never been chastised like that by his father before. And he was shocked. And he told us he went to his room and he laid down on his bed and was crying and he fell asleep. But then, while he was resting there, his father came and was rubbing his back. And he heard his father weeping. He heard his father crying. He said, when I realized that my father is unhappy to have to chastise me, and my father loves me, and my father is weeping, he said, I'll never do that again. So the rod of chastisement, or the rod of, being reprimanded, even struck in the face by the adult, did not remove the desire to engage in the mischievous activity. But because of the love of his father, he said, I'm never going to do that again, and I don't want to do it. So chastisement can be done, Prabhupada said, by the government. You go to prison, you have the judge, you have the prison guards, or when we enter devotional service and Krishna has to admonish us, it's more like the parent, the loving parent, more personal and intimate, and that's very powerful, and it can change the heart and remove the desire. Because of punishment with love is an interesting, foreseeing the punishment as a loving care is an interesting shift of perception. I'm starting to slur my words. I've been up all night and I'm falling asleep all the time. Oh, grace to show Prabhupada. We were praying to Prabhupada what to say during class. We were struggling to praying to able to contribute some small thing, but sorry to talk so long. Oh, grace to show Prabhupada.
Thank you, Hariprabhu. That point is so powerful. Loving
chastisement with love, yeah. What a combination.
Yeah.
That works.
That's good stuff. Yeah.
We had Krishna Katal was giving class, and he said he spoke to this prison guard, prison warden in West Virginia. And the warden said there's a thing called recidivism. You know what that is? Recidivism? People steal and they get caught and they go to jail, and then they finish their term of imprisonment. Then they go out and they steal again, and they get caught and they go back to jail, and they steal again, they go back to jail. He said, so it's a very big problem. We have a large population of the United States in prison.
Yeah.
He said he went to Saudi Arabia, and he found there was nobody in prison there except Americans who were getting extradited for dealing drugs. Because in Saudi Arabia, if someone steals, they surgically cut off your hand.
Wow.
Right?
Wow.
So they have the administrative resolve to just like in Japan, there was heroin going there, and Japan everyone works very intensely, and they call it Japan Incorporated. The whole country is very, and if they say, we're not going to have heroin anymore. So they arrested all the heroin addicts, then they arrested the dealers. Then they said, oh, we have to go right to the top. The person who invested $1 million and makes 20 million. Are you Mr. Yucky? Boom. Shoot him in the head right in the doorway of his house.
Oh, wow.
No more heroin.
That's strong.
So there's when you have that, that's one way to do it, if there's the administrative resolve to cut it out. That's good, but more powerful is the most powerful
Hare Krishna.
love.
Yeah.
Sorry to talk so long, William. Go on. William wants to talk.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. Yeah,
course.
the correction with love is the most powerful thing, and that's why we see so many of these wonderful pastimes.
Hey.
Oh, sorry, this mic is just on. We see so many of these wonderful pastimes in the CC that demonstrate that. For example, with Chankazi, it was given the example that Chankazi was Kamsa in his previous life, but that's the name, right? Chankazi. He was Kamsa in his previous life. In that life, Krishna defeated him. In the battle, in the wrestling arena, he defeated him. But in this incarnation of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he not only defeated the demoniac, but he defeated them and gave them love of Godhead. He destroyed them by doing away with the demoniac qualities and giving them the divine love of Godhead in a same body. So it just goes a level beyond. This is the munificence of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Wow.
It's another great example. Yeah, big time. Nityananda's mercy is even greater than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's. William Prabhu, you have your hand up. I'm not sure if he's seeing. William Prabhu?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for a wonderful class.
Hare Krishna.
You had my hair standing on end.
Whoa.
Love when you speak. I heard you for the first time this year, and I was like, wow, what an elevated soul. I mean, elevated devotee. So I'd like to address something as a survivor of physical abuse by the parents. There's a difference between abuse and a difference between discipline. You smack me in the face, that's abuse. You hit me with the belt, you mark me, you make me bleed, that's abuse. You take me with your hands by the throat, you pick me up, that's abuse.
Oh my God.
Okay? Discipline. You take away the iPhone from me because I'm always attached to it. That's discipline. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little emotional here.
It's okay. Thank you for your vulnerability, Philip.
Haribo.
Thank you, William Prabhu, for drawing the line between the genuine correction and abuse. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Very important.
I wanted to reflect something. Manohar Prabhu explained so wonderfully that Chandkazi not only got defeated, but he also received something valuable. So that's the principle that it's very instructive when we are dealing with our animalistic propensities. Shutting them down is one thing, but engaging our senses positively in bhakti and devotional service, that has to be there, because otherwise we'll immediately fall back into the sense gratification state of mind.
Yes.
So thank you for explaining that so nicely.
Yes, and thank you for opening it further. It said in Bhagavad Gita, Param Jasvanavartante, that we cannot give up something lower without picking up something better. We just gave this class last soul talk about this, about habits. So there may be some lower taste or some habits that we somehow or other are trying to derive some pleasure from. And so if we understand that the soul is, how does it go? Ananda Chinmayo Vyasat, that the soul is naturally pleasure seeking and that that's not inherently wrong, then we can engage that propensity in a way that is uplifting for ourselves for others. And ultimately, the constitutional nature of the soul is to find pleasure in his loving relationship with Sri Krishna. Thank you all very much. Bhagavatam Ki.
Manohar Prabhu ki jai. Thank you. Wonderful class. Dear devotees, please turn on your cameras if you can. Stephanie, thank you.
Shri Shri Radha Murida Gaur Chandana Sima Bhagavan Ki. Shri Radha Murida Gaur Chandana Sima Bhagavan Ki. Srila Prabhupada Ki. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Manohar Prabhu. All right. Welcome to the Afterglow. Nice seeing everybody. India, good to see you. Hare Krishna. Karen and family. Narottam Nita. Krishna Gauda. Holding an umbrella. Reminding us of Vamanadev. Right? Krishna Gauda. Is that the meditation? Where is he? Okay. All right. Anyone wants to speak? Maybe you have a reflection that you'd like to share? in regards to the class?
Yeah, I can say something, Prabhuji. I really liked how the class was really nice. So one reflection I have, like, is, especially in the morning time or whenever we do our japa, like however we can, relate things to Krishna, or it's important to do so. And when we do it regularly, to day after day, then we can even make progress in how we're praying to Krishna. In the sense, taking account the lessons from the Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, and see our progress in that way. But whatever, like, however we can connect to Krishna, it's important. I just wanted to share this one time. I gone to Mangalarti, and there were only Matajis at the Mangalarti. I was the only Prabhu. And one of the Matajis said, "Oh, they're all Matajis here," and I was like, "Wait a minute, like, wait, I'm here too." You know what? So, anyways, but after that, I actually prayed because I knew one of them, and I knew she was, they're trying to have a child, and so I prayed for them, and I don't know if this is because of my prayers, but that I prayed that, hopefully they can have a child later. But later on, they did end up having a child. So, but what I'm trying to say is just like, whatever circumstance we're in, like, we can relate it to Krishna, and it'll develop our faith. So I really like Prabhuji's class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Narottam Nitai Prabhu. Yeah, prayers are real and they work. And as devotees, we should always think favorably about other devotees and send good vibes their way, because we don't know what they may be going through. So we should always remain in this favorable state of mind towards other devotees. One time, His Holiness Sachinandan Swami received a letter from somebody who was sharing with Maharaj that they fell off they got into a motorcycle accident or a car accident or something like that. And they were in the hospital awaiting their surgery. And Maharaj was dictating the answer to his secretary and said, "Okay, tell them that prayers work, prayers are real, and we're going to pray for them. And tell them to expect miracles at 12 noon tomorrow when we will be praying for them. Expect miracles," Maharaj said. So that was very instructive, very inspiring. So in this regard, there's another helpful tip. When we are about to make a decision in life about job or some major decision, it's always good to keep like-minded and realized devotees, keep them informed and seek their blessings. So we should be eager to think favorably about other devotees, and we should always be seeking the blessings of other devotees. It's always good to share with the devotees what's on your mind, seek their guidance, seek their blessings. That's how we do. We don't do things secretly, privately. We always keep good devotees in the loop, so to say, so that we can receive their blessings. This is Sankirtan movement. We are in this together, as Bhima Kaviraj Prabhu says. We are in this together. Thank you. I think I'm rambling on, but I'm very happy to be with you, dear devotees. Thank you for your association. Have a wonderful day. Be successful in your service to Krishna. See Krishna everywhere. Jeffrey Eckler. You've seen Krishna everywhere in your office. Did you move already?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I would say 75% moved.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a process, but it's happening. And thank you for asking. Thank you for thinking of me. But yeah, I see him in the Excel spreadsheets. I see him in the research. I see
and the
him
deadlines. Right.
It's the only way to make it sing, right? Is to see him in it.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you set up your altar yet at your new place?
I've unpacked the items for my altar, but we are currently trying to determine where the safest place to keep Krishna will be so that a 2-year-old does not become too intimately involved with the Lord.
Yeah.
Practical realities, but
Yeah. Okay, cool. Good luck, Jeffrey Prabhu. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. So have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you again for your association. We love you. We need you. Come again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.